Good day, everyone. So, for today,
We are the Green Jeans Group.
and we will be discussing about the lesson 3, the science teacher. So, the science teacher. In determining the effectiveness of science teacher, the knowledge of the of the subject matter, the pedagogical competence, the quality values are at the most consideration. The passion of science teacher is evident when teaching is not only about the mastery of the content but also the functionality of the skills acquired. So, in professional knowledge, it includes the knowledge of science content, knowledge of the pedagogical content, knowledge of the general pedagogy, and the knowledge of the science curriculum. So, in knowledge of science content, it refers to the disciplinary conceptual knowledge of the teacher. The good subject knowledge involves understanding the substance, content, structure, and the organization of the subject itself. The next one is the knowledge of the general pedagogy. It refers to the teacher's knowledge about the characteristics and cognitive levels of the varied learners, variety of the learner-centered teaching, and learning approaches including assessment and classroom management. So, we also have pedagogical content knowledge. It refers to the knowledge that the teacher must have to be able to teach the subject matter. This type of knowledge is complex with many interacting aspects included under general pedagogy. And the last one is the knowledge of the curriculum, structure, and materials. So, in this curricular knowledge, it refers to the knowledge of the place of science in the basic education level, the interrelatedness of the content of science across the science discipline and with other curricular areas, and the quality of the materials needed to support the curriculum. That's only. Thank you.
Let's now proceed to professional practice of a science teacher. So, when we say professional practice, it contains the actions expected in science teacher in achieving quality learning outcomes. It also covers the techniques needed to get along with the people around them, like the parents and the community leaders, for objective to achieve. Without further ado, let's start off with the professional practice 1 for the science teacher. Well, the professional practice 1 focuses on designing sound science teaching and learning experiences that is suited to the needs and interests of the varied learners inside the classroom. Meaning, these teaching and learning experiences should be flexible, not only considering what the teacher wants to teach, but also considered its effects to the learners. For example, an effective science teacher can link science discipline across subject area. Second, other sources of information, knowledge of a human and physical resources to help cultivate the learnings of learners in science. Also, an effective science teacher can integrate ICT to science in order for the students to be technology literate. So that's it for the professional practice 1. And let's now proceed to professional practice 2 of the science teacher. The second professional practice of a science teacher create and maintain learner-centered, emotionally and physically safe learning environment. Basically saying, the second practice pertains to a conducive learning environment where students can learn properly, effectively, and appropriately during the learning process. Therefore, an effective science teacher should have to ensure and eliminate all the possible threats that could affect the students' learning process during the class, where the learning of the students is the first priority or purpose of the education. So that's it for the first and second professional practice of a science teacher. And next, obviously, is the third professional practice of a science teacher.
The third practice in this category engages students in scientific investigations to be able to generate, construct, and test knowledge and evaluate evidence. So in this practice, an effective science teacher involves students in conducting varied types of scientific investigations to expose them to diverse ideas, resources, and technologies. An effective science teacher teaches and models practices that allow students to analyze knowledge and experiences critically, recognize problems, ask questions, and pose solutions. An effective science teacher is a risk taker who is willing to live with unpredictable consequences of open-ended activities. So an effective science teacher develops students' curiosity and openness to new ideas, the demand for reason, honesty and objectivity, and acceptance of the tentative nature of scientific knowledge. An effective science teacher guides students in active inquiry, observing and measuring phenomena, formulating hypotheses, recording tasks, and reaching tentative conclusions consistent with data collected. An effective science teacher guides students to reflect on the results and consider ways to refine the investigations. An effective science teacher practices what effective teachers of other subject areas do. He or she uses varied strategies to increase students' ability to process information from a wide variety of resources, including print, internet, discussions, and media reports to be able to participate in the discussions and ask effective and appropriate questions, and provides students with opportunities to develop competencies in the use of technology in authentic context and enables students to be in control of the technological tools whenever possible. So the fourth practice finds and implements ways to extend students' understanding of the ideas and concepts being learned. So in this practice, an effective science teacher shows the connection and coherence between information acquired and their daily life applications. An effective science teacher is able to trace and use examples to show how science ideas evolve and change over time. An effective science teacher builds on students' prior knowledge and understanding and incorporates these aspects into science teaching. An effective science teacher creates environments that promote sustained high-quality opportunities. An effective science teacher enables students to understand that scientists use language in particular ways where certain words have precise meanings in science and that these meanings may differ from everyday usage. An effective science teacher provides strong links to literacy, numeracy, and interpersonal and communication skills and regularly pose tasks and questions to students to heighten their awareness of the different discourses in science. An effective science teacher utilizes successfully the unplanned learning opportunities that arise in the course of the lesson development. So an effective science teacher practices what effective teachers of other subject areas do. He or she maintains a high level of student engagement, using flexible approaches, changing strategies to solve particular learning problems that arise as a group or as individuals. And he or she is prepared to tackle societal issues that emerge and seeks relevant parts of student experiences to elucidate what is being learned.
A wonderful day to each and everyone. Welcome back to our channel. For the continuation of the discussion, it is my part to impart to you all regarding the Practice 5, which is build students' confidence and capacity to use scientific knowledge and processes to make informed decisions. An effective science teacher exposes students to varied learning situations to make them at ease with science as part of daily life, giving them opportunities to continue to learn science, engage with scientific processes, and communicate about them. He or she ensures that their teaching enables students to develop, enhance their habits of mind, example being critical and creative thinkers, and become lifelong learners. An effective science teacher provides learners with opportunities to identify relevant science topics and issues. An effective science teacher uses strategies that develop divergent thinking and models creative and indigenous ideas in searching for evidence. An effective science teacher explains clearly independent relationship between science and technology and society and the links that science has with other areas of knowledge and ways of thinking. An effective science teacher encourages students to read newspapers, articles about science, to follow TV programs on new advances in science with interest, to critique articles and reports about science, and to engage in discussions about the validity of any conclusion made. An effective science teacher explores with students ways in which societal and cultural beliefs and values have shaped science and decisions about the applications. An effective science teacher focuses on new and emerging ideas and technological and the ethical issues arising from them, enabling students to exercise their skills responsibly and participate effectively in public debate. An effective science teacher increases students' understanding of the impact that current decisions have on future directions of science, technology, and society. Now let's come to practice number 6. Uses a wide variety of strategies consistent with learning goals to monitor and assess students' learning and to provide effective feedback. An effective science teacher uses assessment as an integral part of the teaching learning process. The assessment procedures chosen are coherent with the goals of the science learning experiences. An effective science teacher practices what effective teachers of other subject areas does. He or she recognizes the different purposes of assessment, making them explicit to student along with the process and criteria for judgment, draws informal and informal assessment strategies to guide in planning and developing units of work, gauge the progress of students individually and as a group, and review the nature of the teaching and learning process. Utilizes assessment to help students reflect on their own progress and to provide summative accounts of progress made in relation to the goals of learning process. Assist students to use self and peer assessment strategies to make them reflect on their progress and be responsible for their own learning. Make use of an extensive repertoire of formal and informal assessment strategies and justify why that strategy is used, recognizing that the goal assessment tests are good learning experiences. The multiple methods ensure reliability and validity of assessment data and enable to teacher to explore and identify the full range of students' understanding and capabilities. Keeps careful and thorough records of students' progress. Use these records of progress together with samples of work to aid two-way communication with their students and student families. He or she recognizes the different reporting requirements of parents, education, agencies, and certification authorities. He or she develops portfolios of students' achievement which illustrate, exemplify what students know and can do and the progress students have made. Uses assessment as part of the general process of evaluating the quality of their own work and identifying where improvements can be made.
Hi guys! So today we will talk about the professional attributes of a science teacher. So let's define first what a professional attribute is. So these are the characteristics that a teacher develops in order to improve their teaching, or what we call the professional growth. These attributes help them become active members of a professional community. So the first community, The first attribute of a professional science teacher is that they evaluate, analyze, and refines the teaching practices to improve student learning of science. So to say, a professional teacher is someone who checks on their students daily and analyzes their possible strengths and weaknesses for any ideas on how to improve not only the performance of the students, but also their performance as a teacher. The second attribute of a professional science teacher is that they should work well with the other teachers within the school and joins professional teachers and or community organizations to improve the quality and effectiveness of science education. The second attribute is all about collegiality. Of course, it is important to maintain a great professional relationship with your colleagues to ensure the professional growth